Welcome. My name is Mike McGuire, right? All right, I am a professor of communications here at Moraine Valley. Today I'm here with students from my Composition 1 course, which is a course that not only introduces students to college level writing, but also challenges them to think critically. This semester, my students have been focusing their writing and thinking on the aims of education. This subject is appropriate in that most students who have come to this class have been deeply immersed in institutionalized schooling for at least 12 years of their young adult lives. They have grown up in school in large part. Indeed, most of us have. When we are drenched in the normalcy of a shared experience, it is easy not to question it, not to examine it. And so this semester we have taken that as our charge, to direct our critical thinking in this direction of education. Towards that end, my students and I have used an approach called deliberative dialogue. Deliberative dialogue is a face-to-face method of interaction where small groups of diverse individuals come together to exchange and weigh ideas and opinions about a particular issue that they all care about. It is a form of guided discussion aimed at finding the best course of action. For this dialogue, we made use of an issue framework from the National Issues Forum, which had us ask the question, how should higher education help us create the society we want? With this project, I've really booted my students into the deep end here, asking them to contend with some of the big issues that plague higher education and our society overall. I've challenged them to articulate their ideal vision for our society and to think about the role education would play in creating it, to contend with the many obstacles that get in the way of such ideals, and to propose specific actions towards positive change. All of this through a few short weeks of research, writing, and dialogue. As much faith as I have in my students, I recognize that the expectations I have laid upon them here may have been somewhat unrealistic. I mean, to solve the issues that plague higher education today, that's asking a lot, don't you think? You guys think so? Yeah, maybe, right? So we're not here today to get absolute answers to our problems. It would be unfair to expect this, but it would also be unfair to expect that these students have little more to share today than the product of a mere classroom exercise. One of the rules of the deliberative dialogue process is to listen for meaning, not flaws. Every person has value in the authentic point of view he or she brings to the conversation. While you might hear students struggling somewhat today with their understanding of complicated issues and their ideas for action, I challenge you all to listen not for flaws, but for meaning. Listen to these students. Listen to what they have to teach and what they have to learn. After these presentations, I hope we can enter in conversation together to continue learning from one another. All right, then without further ado, we will invite our first group up, and we're going to go with Joe's group, okay, to come on up and share their ideas on higher ed. Hey, yes, you can clap. Yeah, so we have to flip them on.
Hello?
Okay.
Test.
All right. Should we kind of? Alrighty. Well, first off, going to introduce ourselves. My name is Brandon. All right. I'm a current freshman right here in Moraine Valley.
I'm Joe Couchet. I graduated Brother Ice in 2009. Shortly after, I joined the Marine Corps. Served for 6 years, and this is my first semester at Moraine Valley.
Hi, I'm Lorena. I'm in Moraine Valley as international student, and this is my first semester.
Hello, I'm Breno Yamada. I'm also an international student here from Brazil, and this is also my first semester here.
All right. We'll go ahead and jump on into it now. Well, first off, let's go ahead and recognize that Moraine Valley has been awarded, or not awarded, but been recognized as the #1 community college in the nation now. Let's have a nice round of applause for that, you know? All right. But even as the best community college in the nation, there's still a lot to be done. All right. Joe?
One thing I want to focus on is admission of students that don't fall under the norm. And this involves veteran students, and especially, that we're going to talk about today, international students. So one thing I want to touch upon from my own experience was the Veteran Services Office. Now, Moraine Valley being one of the leaders in community colleges, they can also set the example for others to emulate. I can talk from experience here that their Veteran Services Office was the best one that I've dealt with so far. One college I attended before, the University of Phoenix, is actually being investigated right now by the FBI for exploiting veteran benefits and things like that. But when I came here, I got out of the service this summer, and I really wanted to go to school, but I did not know how to apply my benefits, how to enroll, where to start. So I called up Moraine Valley, and they directed me to the Veteran Services Office, and one of the nice counselors there told me what to do. I came in, I sat down, they told me my benefits, my options I could use, how to apply them, and then they're going to do all the talking with the VA. And I think that is the most important part, especially for a college with new students, is communication. They kept in touch with me to let me know what they needed from me. I gave it to them, and then they walked me through. They pretty much held my hand through the whole process, all the way up to the first day of class. So I think that the International Students Affairs section and other sections of this school should emulate the VA and the example they set.
All right, moving on from some of the other sections that Moraine Valley can be able to emulate some of the veteran services mindset, and also when they could really help out with right here is for international students. Either one.
All right. So when you first get here as an international student, one thing that it's really easy to notice is the amount of counselors we have here. The staff in the ISA, the International Students Affairs Office here, it's pretty short on people right now because there are only 2 counselors for all of the international students around here on campus. So that makes for a pretty busy last week of registration for us because me and Lorena, we can talk from our own experience that together with us, around 30 people came too. And from every little problem, we want to go and talk to the counselors because we come by ourselves and they are pretty much the ones that we can go to. And that makes lines of like hours that you can wait just to talk to them and register or something. And just by hiring at least one more counselor, that would take a lot of workload out of the 2 counselors there. And it would make it more efficient too, make things faster as well.
Not only on just the amount of counselor issues, all right? I don't know if you want to talk about.
Another problem that we're facing as international students is the house situation. When we arrive here, the International Students Office gives us the option to live with a host family, which is good when you arrive and you don't know anyone. And they could be a big support, but when the time starts passing, you want your independence too. And it's very hard to rent a place because we don't have, as international students, we don't have social security numbers, or we cannot have a job, we cannot prove income. And to rent a house or an apartment, we all know that you need that here. So it becomes very hard. And even when the international students has the house, apartment, or the housing office, they just help you with the homestay, but they don't really help you with the apartment situation. So that's something that they should give us more support with, too.
And to go along with that, I think it helps to understand the situation that international students face. Usually they come here on their own. Brano came here on his own. He's 18 years old. Not only did he leave home, he left his country. So he comes here, and the only person who really hasn't, his point of contact is his counselor. He goes to them for all the answers to all the questions he has. You know, where do I live? What do I do for money? How do I get by? And with that, I think one good step in the right direction would be to maybe open up more job opportunities for these international students. Now, they're not allowed to work off campus due to their visa requirements, but I think if they open up maybe a couple positions within the ISA itself, assistance to the counselors, help take the load off them, especially during registration weeks, that would be a big step. And also, them working on campus, they can interact with other local students and share their cultural ideologies, things like that. Also, when they come over here, they can also be hurting financially due to the currency exchange, whether it be pesos, yen, whatever it may be. They can lose value of their money, and they need some kind of source of income. And they're not allowed to work off of campus, so they can't support themselves. And also, like Lorena said, living situations other than living in a host family. It's difficult. They don't have a social security number. They're not a citizen. If they wanted to have some kind of student living center, I think maybe Moraine Valley talking to some apartment complexes, not owning them, but kind of like a co-lease with the owners of those buildings, kind of set something up for these students to stay if they choose not to live with a host family. And the biggest thing here is just supporting them, because this is really a big change, and this is their first college experience in the United States. So Moraine Valley is not only showing them what college is like in the United States, but it's also their first real experience of being on their own in a different country. And I think Moraine Valley can help set them up for success now. They'll be successful in their future.
In total, just want to go ahead and thank everyone for coming out right here. Okay. Now, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I said testing.
Ready? We have tested the mics. Great, so let's introduce ourselves. My name is David Peach. I am a transfer student, and this is one of many times I've been to Moraine Valley.
I'm Jesse Gross. I'm a freshman at Moraine Valley.
I'm Andrew Mahoney. I'm also a freshman here at Moraine Valley, and I'm majoring right now in chemistry.
I'm Leonardo Nelson, and I'm a freshman at Moraine Valley.
My name is Yasmin, and I'm a freshman at Moraine Valley.
Our experience with Moraine Valley has led us to illuminate a couple of problems with education. Education has a couple of things that need improvement and change, but there are three that we are going to focus on today: relieving the burdens of a student through the financial means, the academic means, and the professional means.
All right, so today the student loan debt, according to debt.org, exceeds $1.2 trillion. That's it's 11 zeros after a 12. That's a lot of money. In an age of prevailing industry and technology, it confounds me to see so little is being done to relieve the financial burdens of a student. Moraine Valley and community colleges like it exemplify dedication to the financial burdens of a student by offering significantly lower tuition prices than their four-year counterparts. In four-year institutions, create a dilemma in student life where the high cost of tuition will either lead students to not pursue an academic career in higher education, and then be subjected to the lower economic income annually than that of a college graduate. And college graduates who receive a diploma will then be forced into working for the foreseeable future to pay off this debt. What we're seeing here is a debt crisis in America.
All right. So another issue we have to talk about is textbooks. All right. So according to Educational Marketeer, the average price of textbooks has increased by 6% per year. By 2007, the average price of textbooks was between $900 and $1,200. This is outrageous because students need to be able to afford these textbooks, and the textbook could also be inefficient to the student, as some are visual readers and some are descriptive readers. Therefore, the student should be able to choose their own textbook as long as it fits their course curriculum's needs. And also, another second solution they could add to is they could buy an ebook, which I agree is much more affordable than a hardcover textbook.
There's a large number of college students here at Moraine Valley that are not prepared for the rigors of a college course. And this is not a problem just at this institution. There's a problem across the entire country. And University of Chicago did a study in 2014 that showed that only about 46% of students are actually ready, when they graduate from high school. And as these unprepared students reach college, they're greeted not with professors that understand their background, but they meet professors and instructors that expect them to just do the work, and they don't necessarily want to understand or try to enact a change to help them be motivated through school. And I believe by establishing a teacher-student relationship within the confines of a classroom could help relieve the burdens of a student.
To expand on the environment within a classroom, students are not allowed or not encouraged to pursue a specific career path. In education, students are given a wide variety of kind of vantage points, but it was only during the Industrial Revolution that academic vocation was truly implemented. And by academic vocation, I mean choosing a major very early on so that you are surrounded by other professionals and other students pursuing that same career path. This is very supportive. This helps conduct a supportive environment and also kind of gives people the idea of getting their feet wet. So I think that reinstating that kind of mentality, which is used in European tracking, but not necessarily anymore since the Industrial Revolution, I think that reinstating that would actually help the academic world. Focusing more on curriculum allows a student to be more successful elsewhere.
I'm going to talk about an issue that is usually only apparent once students graduate. According to a Harris Interactive survey of more than 2,000 students and 1,000 hiring managers, more than 80% of employers want their employees to have completed some form of internship, but only 8% of students actually says that internships is something they spend a lot of time on. My ideal society is one where colleges will give students a chance to gain internship experience or work experience in their desired field. So they can have experience once they leave college, and it will better their chances of getting a better job so they can pay off their college debt. Moraine Valley offers a lot of internship opportunities for many majors, but there could be more. I believe that once a student enters the college, they should start doing internships. Because if you know what you're trying to get into, then what major you're trying to pursue, you should get experience once you get in. So once you leave, you can be in a stable position. Basically, this will relieve the financial burden on the students because it will give them a chance to get more experience, which means a better paying job. There we go.
So each of us have brought up a specific burden and means to help go around correcting them or at least addressing them. So to leave you with those today, we will reinstate very quickly the burden as well as how we suggested fixing them.
Administrators need to stop using federal money to invest in campus life, and they need to focus their finances more on internships and things that directly affect student life. Community members have to think of creative solutions that must be that will lead to solving the debt crisis. For example, Colorado invested $13.6 million into education and infrastructure, and are also using that tax money to grant student scholarships, according to Times Magazine and the Denver Post. Moreover, with the current system, students can't wait for the previous goal to be met, so we must go to community colleges, do good in school, and get scholarships, and not wait for anything to be handed to us, because it takes a while for things to get done around here.
So there are clearly a lot of areas of education that need change and reformation. But if we can only address a few at a time, then hopefully over time that change will come. Thank you. I think I sounded really
Last it fell yesterday. You guys ready? Show must go on, as they say, right? Turn the switches on.
Hello, my name is Ivan.
I'm Vincent Valos, and I want to apologize for showing up late. Sorry, everybody.
Nobody noticed until just now.
Everybody noticed. We got pushed back.
My name is Mariana Corona. I'm Adriana, and I'm studying nursing at Moraine Valley. Well, I know that as students here or at any other place, we might become very stressed due to schoolwork, and if you have a job, then that might interfere with everything you're doing in school. This is why we decided to focus on things that might prevent students like us from receiving a higher education. For example, from experience, I could say that I work and I am taking 5 classes right now. I work 5 days a week, and then the rest I use it for school work. So I become very stressed, and sometimes I really don't get the chance to do work, and that's when I'm like asking myself, what do I do? I'm not gonna do this because I'm gonna do my other work for a biology class. So that's when I become very anxious when I have an exam, and like I can't really process information through my head. As a group, we wanted to focus on psychological disorders that might affect students to become more concentrated in school. And we decided to compare a 4-year university such as UIC and community colleges around our area. And we found out that many 4-year university colleges have actually a lot of counselors that help them with this type of disorders that prevent them from reaching their goal in school. And we did a little research, and we found out that at many community colleges, we don't have that many counselors and people that we could talk to help us out and find a solution for this.
So there are more than 34,000 students at Moraine Valley Community College, credited and not credited hours, and around 2,000 students are for one counselor. So that's a lot of students just for one counselor. And also we made a call to UIC, and the person that answered the phone did not know where to guide us for the counselor and didn't know how to navigate on the website. Even though their website was really, really good and it gave us a lot of information. But either way, I think if the person that didn't answer the phone didn't know where the things for the counseling were, I don't think the students are going to know either. And that's a big problem, because students should be able to know where to find help and where the consular apartment is. And also, we found more problems with the community college than we did with the four-year universities. And around 89.4% of students suffer of stress, and 89.4% of students of depression, and 89.4 of anxiety, and also 43.9% of bipolar disorders. And we also, well, we found all these numbers in the community college's mental health website. And I think it's a big problem we have here, that we seriously don't know where to go and find help with like our problems. And if we really think about it, no one else is gonna help us. Like, if we really go to someone, it's not like they're gonna care that much to help us. We have to be realistic. So that's why I think it's really important to like go and see someone else and get help from them.
So along with getting more counselors in schools and having a better way to find help, we wanted to think of a bigger idea, something major, something that would change a lot, something that would turn some heads, And what we came up with was a massive study group for each class, all right? So what we would do is have a preset room at a preset time, and now any student of this specific class can show up. This is one-on-one, group peer work, whatever you want it to be, okay? We wanted to do this because we wanted to attack the roots of psychological disorders such as depression, stress, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. We think along with this study group, it'll help with time management, the stress of homework, of figuring out what's going to be on the test or whether we know what's on the test. Okay, that all leads to stress, which can lead to depression. So we wanted to attack the roots. We wanted to focus on what the first problem is before we get to the next step. So when you go into these classes, you'll be able to work one-on-one or with a group, like I said. That's all.
So when most people think about higher education, they think about tuition, books, classes, and even mean teachers who give out too much homework and you won't get any sleep. But they don't really think about the anxiety and stuff that comes with all that classwork and all that homework. And it affects everybody. Actually, it really affects the whole atmosphere of the classroom when everybody in the class is feeling down or not even paying attention and thinking about what they're going to do next for the next class, and that they haven't done their homework. So it affects everybody around. It affects the teachers, your classmates, and just the whole atmosphere. And then one thing that I think could be done is bring it to light, because not many people know what to do when they're faced with that problem. They don't know what help they can get. They don't know where the counselors are, or they don't know what to do, actually. So I think if there was like posters along the walls saying that you can get help from a counselor, or there's a counselor in this building or something, I think that would really help. And I think we could incorporate our idea into the whole Moraine Valley community. And it will help with the anxiety of doing assignments the last minute, and that could lead to depression or any other big factors. Yeah, thank you.
awesome job, everybody. I know coming in, many of you are lots of anxiety. I mean, I could feel it in the room, right? I was getting anxious because it's like contagious. So you all did good and your heads didn't explode or anything. Everything worked out okay, right? But we're not done. I mean, I think the real fun part here is to have a little bit of conversation around some of these ideas. And we do have a bit of time, not that we need to use it all today if we don't want to. But we heard a lot of cool things today. And even though we've been with this familiar audience, we've been talking about these kinds of questions, these kinds of issues as a group for a lot of the semester. We haven't had an opportunity to hear one another's full presentations, in their entirety until today. So I'm hoping some of you might have some questions or some comments that you would like to ask or make towards one another to get a little bit of conversation going. Anything you heard today that you'd like to question or comment on? And we've got the mics. It's fun to talk into a mic. Yes. All right, David's got his hand sort of up. I'm going to bring the mic to him. It's on.
So my question was about international students, and it was, do you think that that you should be hiring students only that meet certain qualifications for these jobs, or should there be an interview process, or would it just be easily accessible jobs, kind of like janitor work and maids and whatnot?
I think it would be all dependent on what the position is. I think what would be good for, I would say, experienced international students, like ones who've been here for maybe a year or over that, they could act as some kind of a mentor or a sponsor for a new student and kind of guide them in the right direction. And then when it comes to other positions, janitor didn't come to mind or anything, but I guess if you only want to be a janitor and they're qualified, I don't know what the qualifications really are for janitor. But yeah, helping with a counselor, maybe they can do a quick interview on their people skills, on their paperwork skills, English skills would be important, definitely. But yeah, I'm sure there's a diverse a range of things that international students can do around the campus to help take loads off of faculty, things like that, assistant positions. And I think the best thing would be like a sponsor program for incoming students to, I think when I went to a different country, I always had a sponsor. And, you go somewhere and you're scared, but you got someone there like, hey, I was in your shoes. Let me show you what I wish I would have known kind of thing. So.
But to be clear, international students can have student aid jobs on campus, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Are we saying that there's not enough opportunity to go around, or I guess I want to be clear on the issue?
Well, we don't know exactly how many jobs are around here, but right now it doesn't, for me at least, and probably for Lorena too, it doesn't feel like there's much. If there are, we still got to compete with the local students as well, the students that can work outside campus and stuff. But yeah, that's it.
I see. So because international students aren't allowed, with their visa restrictions, not allowed to work off campus, you're suggesting there should be certain opportunities sort of set aside to make the pool of competition, if you will, a little bit smaller. Because like what you just said, Brano, that like students who are not international students, they have other opportunities off campus.
Yeah. Because right now the only place that I see only international students working is the proper international students office. And where?
And there are 2 students, per semester, maybe per year. And even working in campus, we have, I'm not sure if it's 15 or 20 hours limit a week.
If it's like student needs, it's 20 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can work more.
And that's not enough to make ends meet, right? Okay.
And, I think that another thing, if there are other jobs out there for these international students that are already out there, just like you saw Brano, I think the ISA should do, or the school in general should do a better job of advertising to these students that they have these opportunities. So.
Also, one thing that's, of course, available to more so just the local students and, of course, the international students, we have the absolutely great job resource center here in Marine Valley. I personally checked it out. Some of the people there are so helpful. It's going to be, they're going to say, they will always lead you in the right direction. They're not there to go ahead and lead you astray by any means right there. So I mean, just kind of closing down the pool right there, and even more so for the international students to, of course, get those student aid jobs would make a big difference.
Well, I don't know much about like student visas or anything like that, but it sounds like that's the problem. Like, it sounds like you know the restrictions are really high on your visas, and they don't really allow you to do much. And is there? I don't know, but is there any way maybe like Moraine could help, possibly give you maybe a more flexible visa? That way, they could help you get jobs outside of campus. Or?
The college doesn't issue the visa, though.
Oh no, that's not. Yeah, no, I was just saying like maybe they could help or something.
Yeah, the visa process, I mean, I'm sure Brandon could talk from experience, but I used to work in an embassy, and I know for everywhere I've seen, the U.S. is actually very difficult to get into. And visas have an expiration date, and one of the main things is that you have to state your purpose to why you're visiting the country, whether it be family, work, or you want to plan on being a citizen. And for students, I believe that their requirement is to attend college. They're here for education, and then they go back home. And if they want to return, they have to fill out a whole other package, whole other thing. So the school itself does not have any hand to do with the visa other than them saying we're going to be the host school. They're going to be attending here. It's really up to the counselor section of the embassy that deals with it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wonder if the college offers work visas, sponsors international individuals to work for this institution beyond a student aid role.
They can help you after you're done with your 2 years or 4 years. They can help you to find an internship. But if you get the sponsor, it's by your own. Like the school doesn't do that.
And just educate me a little bit here more, if you would. So can you, if you have a work visa, can you also be a student, or can you hold both visas? I mean, how might that work? One at a time. Yeah. So you're either a student or you're a full-time worker, and the two shall never intertwine. Okay.
No.
You're motioning.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The reason why I raised my hand is because I was asking if I could ask another group a different question.
Yes, you certainly may.
Okay. So this is for your guys' group, and it was: do you guys know of anybody that has struggled with a mental illness during their education? Like, have you ever seen somebody struggle with depression while at Moraine Valley or whatnot?
Yeah, my brother actually came here. He's 33 now, and he went to Moraine. I think it was the first college he went to, and he went through depression. He never got help for it. Well, he did years later, but outside of Moraine. I don't know what his reasoning was for not getting help, or maybe he didn't think it was serious enough. I couldn't tell you, but yeah, I do know somebody, and I don't know how hard it was because I was very young when he went through Moraine. But I still see it like here and there today. So like it's definitely a big issue at any point in life. So yeah.
It definitely is a big issue. I mean, it's certainly something that's being discussed on college campuses all around the country, including here at Moraine. I mean, as you guys mentioned, as you talked about, college students, just due to the many stresses that go along with being a college student, that if it doesn't create, it certainly might aggravate conditions that might already be there. Also, the population of your typical traditional college student, a young population often is coming to grips or struggling with emerging kind of mental health issues. I'm curious to know, and as faculty, we see that a lot in our classes. It's something that the counselors talk to us about pretty regularly. You're going to be seeing more of this in your classes, be ready. Here's what you can do. And I don't think it's enough for me as one faculty member. But you guys talked about, your group talked about how students don't always know where they can go. They just don't know what kinds of services exist for them. I'm wondering if, maybe by show of hands, how many of you knew that you can go see a counselor here for personal counseling, even for free at Moraine Valley as a college student, as a full-time student anyway. Maybe part-time too, I'm not sure. Not everybody, like 3 people, right? And so not even half. So that is available. So if nothing else, spread the word on that, right? These services are available, even though, as you also mentioned, they are carrying a heavy caseload. I mean, there's lots of students that only like, 7 full-time counselors or something? Who
There was 17.
17. But with how many, 15,000 students?
It was 2,000 students a counselor.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Other questions, comments, please?
This one's for David's group. In particular, I agree with the whole textbooks being too expensive. I think we can all agree on that. I mean, it always hurts to go in the library. But the ebook question, if they decide to make, let's say they did the transition to ebooks, right? Like they mandate everyone has to have an ebook. Then it's on the, is it going to be on the student or on the school to have a device that can play the ebook? You know, I mean, say you don't have a laptop or a tablet, and everyone in your class, you got to do a reading in class with an ebook. Should it be the school's responsibility or the student's responsibility to provide a means to use the ebook in class?
I think it could be more of the student's responsibility of using the ebook by just, the teacher could tell them what pages they would have to read before coming to class and study and do the homework and then come over to class and then know the knowledge. So if that answers your question.
Another possibility is to utilize, like the computers that are here. An example of what you could be suggesting is that there is, I had inquired in the library that there are some computers that have Adobe products and then some that don't. So if you were taking like a graphic design course and you needed to use those products, then you would have to kind of seek out those computers and then come to class already prepared. In an alternative scenario, your teacher could kind of reserve those computers so that during class you could go to them. So it's kind of how the teacher chooses to teach. Either during class the teacher would have to be able to provide them, or it would be kind of like outside work. So it's I think it's dependent on the curriculum of the teacher, but how the teacher decides the curriculum, the school should accommodate the student.
I know of a couple high schools that are changing the way they do textbooks, and I know it can translate to the college level. Like, I went to Oak Lawn Community High School, and we had a pilot program where for whatever class it is, say it was photography, anatomy, they didn't issue a textbook, they issued you an iPad. And on that iPad, you had all of your textbooks and all that, but you had to buy the iPad. I don't think you had to buy it, but you had to rent it, and then at the end of the semester, you could either buy it, keep it for yourself, or give it back to them. So in that way, I feel like that can translate. And I know this year they changed it so every student has an iPad and all their textbooks are on it. So maybe something like that can happen where we can have the option to buy a textbook. Buy a iPad or ebook from the school, and then have the option to either keep it or sell it back to them.
Do you know about how many students attend Oak Lawn Community High School?
I'd say a good amount. I don't know. It's in the thousands.
Yeah, okay.
But it's a good amount of students.
I was just thinking about how a program like that might scale to,
It didn't just happen over in 1 year. It's been a 2-3 year process. This is the first year where they've had all iPads for every student. So
I suppose another option is to have the ebook as an option, right? And you can get the print copy or the ebook depending on your preference and your ability to access those things.
I believe so also that you don't also have to read it off of, an ebook per se. You can also probably be able to read it on the computer if given permission by the author.
Are there other questions that you'd like to raise? I have a question I could raise that might spin us into some more conversation if there is a lull. Looks like there might be a lull. At least one group, I think, Leonardo, I think you mentioned when you were speaking as a part of your group's presentation about a lack of preparedness. Is that right? Yes, that a lot of high school graduates experience when coming to college, and you probably came across in your research. You cited similar things, I think. But each year the ACT puts out what they call their ACT profile report. and it measures college readiness. And each year, as far as I can remember, it's been hovering around about 25% of Illinois high school graduates being ready for college level coursework, according to their research. And that's, if you think about that, that's one in four of high school graduates in Illinois are ready to go to college, are ready to handle that kind of coursework. That's, to me, pretty staggering. The question that I wanted to ask the group is, so what happens to those students? And many of that, 75% of those, many of those students who are so unprepared come to open admission schools, like Moraine Valley, or community colleges like Moraine Valley, right? And they end up in developmental education courses, which are the courses that are not college transfer courses. They're ones designed to sort of really fill this gap. They need to get ready to take the college level courses. This is the fastest growing area of Moraine Valley and of colleges really across this country, developmental ed, and they're not college transfer courses. By some estimates, across the country, we invest about $3 trillion into developmental education. That's quite a bit of money. Should we be making those kinds of investments is what I want to ask you guys, thinking about how much of the money is going towards developmental ed, thinking that they are not college transfer courses, but also remembering that many argue that a higher education is a gateway to the middle class. Without a degree, many people who may not already be in the middle class may never get there. So what do you guys think about that? Should we make those kinds of investments in developmental education?
Well, I feel like at this point in time, it's necessary that we do that because there is an alarming number of students that aren't prepared. So I feel like that is necessary. But I think what we have to start doing is looking deeper into it than to just a quick fix of once they're here, then it's a problem, then try to fix it here. I think it's be something that's, distinguished early on and fixed early on, like probably in high school or the transitional period before high school and college. That it could be corrected then, but. Yeah, it's a lot of money to be spending on developmental courses now. So,
and we think about the individual impact too, as a student in dev ed courses, paying for those courses, knowing that they're not counting towards your ultimate college credential that you hope to achieve, right?
Yeah, sure. It definitely discourages a student.
Chime in.
You can go first.
Like he was saying, I think there's definitely more to it than just looking at pure numbers here. Because I think if you look at performance, grades, things like that, that's kind of what set the standardized tests, which can be frowned upon. And, it can be argued that it hampers education, these standardized tests. And if you look at it by a standardized measure, like Math 95, Math 98, developmental classes, you're kind of simplifying the problem. I know for a fact that when I was in high school, I wasn't a very good student. I had below 2.0 GPA, things like that. But that was just because I felt like I was going through the motions every day. School is just life. Everyone does it. It's just day in, day out. And then if I hadn't stopped going to school, and I went to work after I graduated. And I think that's what gave me a whole new perspective on education in general and how useful it is. And on top of that, time management and other skills I learned from the workforce. And when I came back to school, I was able to manage my time, my studies. I had a whole new focus on school. And I'm doing pretty well, I think, right now in my courses. And I think there's maybe a lot of smart, intelligent people in high school that are just holding themselves back. And I think maybe a way to reinvigorate education to make it something they want to learn. Like they need to know how important education is at a young age rather than just going day in, day out.
So are you saying that we may have an academic readiness gap, but there might also be, might we call it like an emotional readiness gap? Are we ready to take on that kind of different commitment of college right after high school?
Yeah, because I think like right now, I was taking a developmental math course, and I have 100 in it, and it's coming to me easy, but I know it's because I'm applying myself, and I think that a lot of students just don't apply themselves. They copy off each other's homework, things like that, just because they want to procrastinate. They just want to leave school. They don't, when they leave school, they want to be done with school. They don't really understand how important homework is in general. It helps you remember things like that. So I think spinning the view on the academic environment in general would help these students apply themselves. And I think the more they apply themselves, maybe developmental courses will be less required.
As far as academic courses where it's kind of like teaching you to be an academic, I think something that you brought up in class was that college teaches you to become more of a professor than a professional. And this, it might have been just a one-on-one I had with you or something that you brought up in class, but college doesn't necessarily teach you to be like an industry professional anymore. So I think that understanding the relevance of the material could also reflect how in-depth you need to go. Because like if you're taking developmental math, but you're not pursuing a career that has to do with math, then I feel like that should count as your college credit. Or if you are studying to be a mathematician, I think that you should not be in developmental math. You should be in a much more advanced mathematics class. And to expand on that, my personal experience was that I actually could not take the level of math that I am right now because the school actually said that I'm more qualified to take a different level math. And although I am more qualified, I didn't feel comfortable because it has a lot more expectations and it's a lot more time consuming. And since that would exceed my math requirement, I didn't feel like it was necessary. So in that kind of, to put that in perspective, I think that understanding how important the career path is, like how important that education is within your career path should be reflected in the curriculum and the kind of like academic planning.
It kind of sounds like you're nudging at an issue that is often talked about with regard to the gen ed curriculum. Many students that I talk to through my classes express almost a kind of resentment for having to take gen ed courses that don't seem immediately pertinent to their career paths. Be curious to know what some of your thoughts are in the room about the gen ed curriculum. Are there benefits to this? What are the drawbacks? Anybody want to speak out on the benefits that they might see for the gen ed curriculum? Or we can take it either way.
A benefit that I could see from the gen ed curriculum is that if most of the gen ed courses have similar curriculums, then no matter your high school education, everyone can be on like a similar level to like the basic knowledge that they know. I guess it's a summary of high school.
So it just establishes the baseline. Okay. Others? Or Dave?
This is something that I've heard general education, like in several different courses. I've heard the professor say, you're here to learn basic, for example, let's say mathematics, basic mathematics skills. And then I've heard of students kind of complain to the professor that, well, I'm not pursuing a career in math, or I don't like this, so what is there for me to gain, even though I don't want to do anything with these skills? I've heard the teacher attest to them actually secretly, kind of subconsciously honing organizational skills through the guise of mathematics and being organized and more statistic, and it helps you with your finances by understanding what's going on. And I think that that's a very strange kind of well, if it's not working, then here's a better way to look at it. It's another way to kind of sugarcoat the education that you're pursuing or that you're receiving, to kind of look at it in a more flattering light, and sometimes it's not as flattering as we would like it to be.
Just to respond to that real quick, I think maybe what I'm hearing is that some of the things that we study in the gen ed curriculum are taught in the abstract. So we're looking at, whatever, intro to mathematics, whatever it might be. But maybe there's a disconnect between this abstract and the applied. So in this example, the teacher was trying to say, well, look, here's ways that you might apply this abstract concept that we've been talking about in this entire course, but it sounds like you're not buying it. Okay. Others on the gen ed curriculum? Anybody?
I think Gen Ed just basically really helps create like an overall experience for a person growing up. Just like I said, like basic things. Like some people might think, I don't want to be a writer, but I have to take Com 101, 102. And it's like, well, everyone needs to kind of have some standard of writing when you get older. You're going to be writing at some point in your life. Mathematics, even though you're sitting there in class, you might think, how am I going to apply a quadratic equation to my life, kind of thing. It'll come up once in a while where you might need that, but it's good to have like a grasp and understanding of how these things work. And that's why I think it only takes up really like the first year, maybe 2 years of your college experience. You have a general knowledge of everything, and then you specialize in something else, which is what the following years of higher education is for.
I think this there's a comment. Let's hear it.
I was just going to say, I think it's more of a question of why people actually go to college. Some people go to college just to learn, and other people go to college to get a career out of it, you know? So I guess it should be based on maybe college could be based on what kind of career path you're trying to take, if you're a person that's really just trying to learn everything, or you're just a person that's trying to get a degree in what you are going to school.
You're hitting right on, I think, a key question that we've been, I think, engaging with all semester long. It's that first arrow, the sub-question up there, what are the aims of higher education or education generally? And, you know, the sort of typical debate, the polar opposites, I suppose, in the debate are, you know, one is the higher education is designed to help us get a job, to serve a workforce, to create better workers who are skilled at a particular job, right, a career path. And on the other side of the spectrum is a more liberal arts kind of point of view, the idea that education should help create better citizens. I mean, in the words, we saw that film, everybody in this room saw that film, Ivory Tower, and in the film there's this one scene where the president of Harvard is talking about the benefits of a liberal arts education, and she says things like, I've got some notes here, she says that the broader aims of a liberal education are to, quote, learn how to learn, to study across the fields of human inquiry, to be prepared not merely for a job, but to think and reason and question for a lifetime. What do you guys think about the aims of education given this sort of dichotomy?
I think that from my personal experience that it's the promotion of growth and like of intellectual inquiry. I think that that's really heavily influenced actually by the teacher, and the student can be motivated to kind of express those ideas, but to kind of encourage those ideas to actually be formed, I think that there's a lot of pressure on the teacher themselves, because I've had some classes where I don't feel the need to be intellectual at all because I don't see a possible reward to it. Like, I don't see any satisfaction in it or whatnot.
It's not its own reward?
No, like, I see, like, a sense of, like, failure, like, in the attempt of being intellectual. And then I see in other classes that I feel happy just feeling knowledgeable. So, that being said, it shows that I am capable of thought, but then why am I not capable of thought in those environments, in those specific classes where I don't feel satisfaction? So, and the only kind of difference would be the professor, like that, or the curriculum. Like, that is the only difference that I could see. So when it comes to like trying to learn how to learn, it depends on the student, but it also depends on the environment around the student.
I think that one of the things that higher education aims for is also to try to find who you are. That sounds very corny, but if we go back a little bit to the gen eds thing, like the most popular degree right now in Marine Valley is undecided. So I think that the gen eds, they can really like help you find out what you want, who you are, what you like doing. And yeah, one of the things that higher education could aim for, I think that's one of them.
And of course, many would suggest trying to figure out who you are is really the job of a lifetime. You know, it's not like you just figure it out in a couple of years, but if this is part of it, you know, maybe an important part for many people. Others, Jesse?
The problem I have with using higher education just to like specialize for a job or to find a job is then it opens like the door for that education to cost money since you're gaining, you know, a future job position, so like future money from that. And I don't think a learning environment benefits from having like strong connections to economy, if that makes sense.
So you mean this idea of like college business relationship, like the institution is staffing a particular local business, and is that what you mean? Like that relationship one should be cautious about something like that?
I just generally wanting or like having a what's it called? Just using your degree just to get a better job than you would without having one. I think it undermines like education because then everyone's gonna like use it just to get a job. So then you can be charged for that, and it just doesn't benefit like an intellectual, I guess.
I'm gonna say so.
Sure.
Like, if the college focused specifically on preparing you for a job rather than helping you grow as an intellectual, they're gonna kind of want something back from you when you get that job that they prepared you for. So it takes out of like the thinking environment and it becomes more of a preparation stage.
Yeah.
Saying like it makes it harder for those that actually are going to college just to learn. Is that what you were kind of saying?
Yeah,
basically, because it makes the tuition go up higher. I mean, I think that I understand what you're saying, but I think that's a little unfair because in this type of economy, I mean, most jobs do want you to have a bachelor's degree. So I'm not just gonna keep working at a factory if I know I can make more money going to college. So I mean, I guess, it's different for everybody. But for me, I think I would go to college even if I couldn't get a better career out of it. But, you know, in this day and age, I can't just spit out $40,000 to go to college. So I'm going to make it worth it if I'm going. So.
Sure. I mean, for me, I look at it more of like what you were saying with the Harvard president, that it's more of a liberal arts thing. I mean, well, you have to look at it different ways. You know, some jobs, obviously, they should be more prepared. People should be more prepared for that career.
Specific skill sets.
Yeah, but for example, for my career, pharmacology, and for me, I want to be / biochemist or a biologist. It deals more with intelligence rather than the job in general. You have to be thoughtful and reasonable, and I feel those skills are more important rather than focusing on the job in general.
It goes back to our early conversations with Paulo Freire and the spanking concept, right? I mean, we could have a set of like a knowledge set, right? But can we move beyond that? Can we solve problems? Can we think on our feet? Can we apply the abstract, you know, to new particulars, you know? Yeah. So, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I just want to go back to what Yasmin was saying right there, is that like even if you can get a better like career out of going to school, just the sake of being in school, right, and learning something new and finding out from like just a random elective or anything like that from the gen eds that you get. I mean, what's it called? For example, like Steve Jobs, of course, like he dropped in on a random like elective as a typography class right here, and that he later on, years later, applied it to the what's it called, computers. All right, this is why so many like computers, iPhone, iPad have such great text on them. All right, and if you didn't jump in on that class, we wouldn't have that. All right, so that's just one perspective to throw out there as well. I mean,
Everybody always talks about Steve Jobs in these kinds of conversations, right? Well, time is running down. I just wanted to see if there are others who want to raise any final comments, final points, final questions. Oh, yes. Just flip it up and wait 1 second, it'll go on.
When I was watching Ivory Tower, I did think it was interesting when they, I don't know who mentioned it, but they were just talking about like how college came about and like what it was really about, just learning. That's what it was really about. And I thought that was really interesting because now it has a different aim now. It's really, I think a lot of people go to college to get a job. I mean, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but, you know, I just thought that was interesting that that's what it was originally supposed to be about, just getting an education.
Well, it was, in this country, it was originally, I suppose, reserved for the most privileged, the people who had leisure time, the aristocracy. I got time on my hands. I'm going to go, read deeply and have these discussions and so forth. But you're right. I mean, only really in the early 1960s when we saw the open admissions community colleges and other open admission schools come on the scene, that it really become something available to, in theory, everyone. Everybody could get involved, and then a focus perhaps more on workforce development came on the scene. But big questions to think about. Anybody else? I know I'm standing between you and your long Thanksgiving weekend, so I don't want to do that. But I do want to congratulate you one last time for a great effort today and a great conversation. I thought we had good conversation. And to remember that, we are not the only ones who will benefit from this, who will hear it. It will be made available. And I can make it available to you guys, too. I get you the MP4 file of this talk, of your presentation, and you could share it with all your friends and family over the holiday, right? That'll be fun. You could show it like at your holiday parties. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you later.